much for this very kind invitation. It's becoming a sort of customary moment with Occam, and I'm very pleased about that. Just a couple of points, but probably I can feel again into the speeches of my colleagues who spoke before me. First of all, we all know that the COVID has been a sort of wake-up call in terms of exacerbation of inequalities in the world, and in my case, especially in Africa. There is a necessity to move to all non-essential activities online, and it is clear that digitalization, not only is a necessity, but I think, maybe I'm too positive, is also on the making, because we have traces in particular countries like Senegal, Ghana, Costa d'Avorio, Ivory Coast, and I would say Angola, and other countries in which, in terms of trade, finance, digitalization, taxation system, I can see something on the move that paradoxically has been accelerated by the tragedy of the pandemic. So digitalization has the power to transform the way we communicate, and it's really introducing us into a dimension of interspace and intertime. And we have to ride this situation, because probably this is the good part of the globalization, and it's also a term of, drink or die. Otherwise, just we will be completely overcome by the mix effect of digitalization, pandemic, and globalization with the continent, in case Africa, but the entire world, which is not prepared. As the United Nations 2030 agenda for the sustainable development highlights, we have to guarantee digitalization in order to obtain a real sustainable and inclusive development. The real tragedy today in the African continent is a lack of inclusivity, is a lack of dignity, is a lack of respect for all people in remote areas, for all people. You may imagine, just Darfur in Sudan is probably twice France, just to give you an idea of distances. So in order to create a common ground, to have a partnership with Africa, and not 1,000 partnership with different parts of Africa, we have to multiply our efforts towards this sense of inclusion through technological evolution. So Africa is the continent of the future. Probably you know that Italy at the end of 2020 launched a strategic partnership with Africa with operative actions. You may find it on the website. It was launched by Minister Di Maio, and it is something that for us is fundamental. We have been opening diplomatic places and new embassies, as you know, in Niger, in Burkina Faso, in Mali very recently. We have in our heart also in Chad, and in Guinea-Conakry some years ago, and more is on the making also in terms of culture, Institute of Cultures, and the antennas or any kind of branches from the ICE, Istituto per il Commercio Estero. So we see now the situation as well as we saw it years ago in terms of development cooperation, when we invented the nexus, which was just the reunion of humanitarian, sustainable development and peace issues, not like different stances, different rooms, just to be dealt with separate operations, but as a whole. It's the same, it's happening with digitalization, inclusivity, and sustainable development. Digitalization is a transformative power, and we have now the occasion to change the way Africa and we ourselves, we live through a real social and economic development. The spread of information and communication in this regard is fundamental. It's a question of knowledge management. It's a question of accelerating human progress. And again, it's a question of values. It's a question of dignity. Without dignity, without respect towards a partner that we have to consider as our partner, outside the very vetust and old dynamics of giver and taker. But once we understood that we are working on a people-to-people approach, on a community-based approach, on a same level equality approach, probably this is the key to have an acceleration also in terms of investment, inclusivity, and sustainable development. The key to all of that is not only innovation, is working on institutional building. Without institutional building, private sector will not feel comfortable to enter the African continent and bases into solid pillars in terms of taxation, norms, legalization, access to justice, rule of law, and good governance. Is what we are doing. As you know, Italy, it's quite strong in training, vocational training, human rights, fundamental rights, but not only this, institutional building and electoral process. Very recently, we have launched a huge process and program on 12 African countries. So the idea is this: it's a value-oriented approach, it's a value-oriented diplomacy. It's not just a question of transferring our knowledge in order to say, okay, digitalization, it's good for you, but we have to stop for a while and thinking how our African brothers, our African friends, they see digitalization, they see sustainable development, they see the green approach, because at the moment probably we are given too many things taken for granted in terms of exporting Westerner issues and Westerner concept into an African interpretation, which is it may be completely different or not perceived as we want. That's why I'm very, very happy that an organization like yours is pushing so much on that into this fantastic agenda of the United Nations, and me, myself, as Italy, as Direction for Africa, we are at your disposal in order to step forward more and more towards new results together, hand in hand with the African continents, for what concerns myself, but hand in hand with the beneficiaries of this new process, because this is a bilateral process. It's not a monolateral issue. It's a question of sharing everything, but not only, just remaining in a multicultural and separated dimensions.